It's another episode of the Best Damn League show. I'll actually start this one by being... Why do I even do these disclaimers? Well, I do it anyway. I was going to say I was going to be funny but rude at the same. Now, like, this is a redundant statement at the beginning of the show, isn't it? But basically, if you don't know, listen, he knows what ways bread spotted. I obviously couldn't get a straight fire guest this week, so I've got Keire, who came from my Discord. He is technically now a member of Euro League, so he's actually part of the podcast. But it's true, you have to understand, some weeks, you know it's getting a bit harder to nail that guest, Keire. You go, right, who's on the Rolodex who will say yes? And you know what? That's one thing I appreciate about you, mate, that you indeed do say yes.
Easy to come to. Plenty of time on my hands because I've only I've watched all my VODs for today. Yeah. I've got some LTK to catch up on, but it wasn't the most important matches, so I'm not going to be watching them live. I'm free.
And since Peter has been on Euro League in the past, I know he's already familiar with your shenanigans, so we should just be able to have a good episode. But if you don't know Peter, what I've essentially done with Keire is, because I consider Keire one of my shock troops since he comes from my Discord, basically the reason I like to insert him into these calls is because he has no ambition to ever be a professional in the esports industry, Peter. Well, guess what? People who are fans naively think I can say whatever I want. Yeah, right. No, I've just got my career to a certain point where I can say quite a lot, maybe more than a lot of people. I can't really say everything. He almost can, So on some level, I like to just... He's like the Suicide Squad I just send out there, like, just fucking turn this guy loose on him. Because I have to still say that, like, fake fans are biased. He can just say, fake is a wee bastard and he's fucking shite and later. Like, you'll never see me go to that level, I'll just say he's overrated or fucking fans suck or whatever, So it's all good. We'll see where this goes. Keire, the guest always starts, so what point? What is good about LEC at the moment, mate?
So, the thing I actually really want to, and I know they are getting like a lot of credit, but I really want to hit it home. I am super impressed that GX went for the Noah June bot lane, and this bot lane, and it's really crazy because they didn't actually want to play together this season, right? To the best of my understanding, is that Noah and June weren't a package deal this season. Right. They and the initial outset thing is Noah didn't want to play with a Korean support because he wanted to work on his English. He wanted an English speaking support. But they are really turning into one of those package bot lanes that you could move around the LEC because of their synergy, what they look to provide, how they play off each other. They're one of it's kind of weird to say, they're one of the actual top tier bot lanes in terms of their versatility and utility. I think Noah has really found his footing. Him not being under the pressure and the microscope of the Fnatic fans has made him play a lot better. And he also if you kind of look at how Noah used to play on stage, particularly during playoffs, basically used to play not to lose. He would never actually the longer he was on Fnatic, the more scared he got and the more overly cautious he got, and then eventually that overcautious and that overscared actually caused him to make more errors because he wasn't doing things proactively. Well, that version of Noah's not so much gone, but he's not been that player anyway. And then the other good thing is you've got Jun, who's basically just one of the S tier, one of the best engaged players in the whole of the LEC, as long as he's not on Leona. And you've got this great pairing in the bot lane. Jun's got a really good depth of picks, and they really facilitate it. And I think they actually provide, along with ISMA's improvements, a really good platform for people like Jackies to kind of keep on going from strength to strength. And so they've ended up actually providing to a really well-rounded team. And it's really impressed because I feel this is a team that could have ended up on fucking SK or Rogue, or not Rogue, but Navi, and they could have ended up not in a position that they deserved. And every single time I see them, I'm yeah, they're 100% exactly where they should, and I think they deserve a lot of praise because they really are just kind of carving out their own little territory in the LEC and being hallmarks. That next year, 100% Noah and Jun should be in the LEC, and they should definitely be on GX. No questions asked.
So I've got two questions. First question I got to ask is this a team that's competing for Worlds? And second question I've got to ask is this regular season? Are they going to be like this in playoffs? Before I give my point.
Yeah, so I'll answer to that. The problem, right, okay, with Europe is it's 3 teams are going to Worlds now. It's no longer the 4-team bracket, right? Had it been the 4-team bracket, this is a team that is actually competing to Worlds. The problem is the 3 teams on top of you are in such a dimension of concentration of talent that like it is really hard to break in there without your own like select like superstars. I think in the context of like the top side, the fact that it's like you've still got an improving ISMA, an improving Jackies, and then like I don't think a lot about Lot, mate. I don't think Lot's like a very good player. I don't see like what the point in Lot is in terms of like moving forward in the top side, but that's not really the point. In that context, they're like the team that's got to position themselves that if one of the top three do have a break apart in playoffs, or like they have a like something goes wrong for them, they can like snap the fingers and they can like latch onto it and try and get in there. Because I think they're like one of the best, like just below like that top three. I think they could end up being one of the best teams. Like possibly like being like by the end of season, maybe possibly being able to outplace like Fnatic, like for that position. It's just there isn't enough slots.
Wait, who's the team that's not that they're not better than? Because you said there's three. So I thought you would because
KCG2 and Mad Lions Koi or Mad Koi are the three teams that are all better than them.
Okay. Yeah.
So like you know what I mean? Like I don't think they're but like
you think they could beat Fnatic?
I don't. Okay, I don't think Fnatic. I think there's a possibility that Fnatic won't be better than them by year end.
Okay.
I'm not that. There's a lot of good things about like Fnatic, but I don't actually see them making the regular improvements I actually see like GX making. Well, something we'll come on to later, and then. So yeah, like that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that your point about Noah and Jun is good. I mean, I think that they've worked out. Okay, so always the qualifier with GX. The players on that team, Lot at ERLs was decent in playoffs, but like the other players on that team have all underperformed in playoffs in the past. So qualifier first, it's regular season. Let's see how they do in playoffs. But I will say that there's one thing that impressed me about Noah and Jun, which is that they're able to play mentally separate from the rest of the team. So what do I mean by this? Like last year, when Fnatic like mid jungle were running it, they would run it as well, and there was no like they didn't. So they were playing. Noah was playing safe, especially Jun may be playing a bit too aggressively, but they were never factors in the game. Like one thing you could always say about like Upset and Mickey is they could win games when their top side was running it, and Noah and Jun very rarely, not never, but very rarely won games when their top side was running it. So they could still be good. They could still, play well. But the problem is if Humanoid was having a bad game, or Oscar was having a bad game, or Razok was having a bad game, it could sometimes be really, really tough for them to take the lead, especially Noah to take the lead and be the one who needed to step up. I would say that there have definitely been games where Jackie's has been running it, both in playoffs last split and in regular season this split, where they've actually looked pretty good independent of the rest of the team, and I think that's a good sign. I will reserve judgment until the end of playoffs, but I do think it's a good sign, and I do think Noah and Jun, as much as they may hate playing with each other, they are now a couple, let's say, and always I would say take the lesson from other bot lanes who've always thought the grass was green on the other side, and then Yellow Star went to TSM and it didn't work out, right? So sometimes just take your 8 out of 10 synergy and run with it, I would say. So yeah, I agree. I think GX were good this week. I thought that they pushed KC. They pushed Fnatic really close, and yeah, they made.
No, it was KC they played. You're right. The first time.
Sorry, KC. They did. Yeah. Why did I say Fnatic? It was KC. They pushed KC really close until the last game, and then they made
Jackie had a Silas game. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like last season in playoffs, and then this season again. Yeah, this split against KC. Yeah.
The reason it's so baffling to me that they don't want to play together, or that wasn't like a priority, is like, first of all, it not only worked in Fnatic, like there's times it looked very good, but they even seemed like a really good like complementary pair of like a duo. Like they've got the creative density, the difference of styles. They even, in theory, I'm guessing both can now speak English and Korean. Like there's all these advantages to doing it even. So to me, they do fit together quite well. It was one of the shrewder pickups of Giant X that at least they got one aspect into their team that was a known quantity. You could even by the way, if you're smart, when you have players like that, you can just go to the old coaches and find out what they're like and how do they work and all that sort of jazz. So it even gives you an idea of how you're going to compose the top side of the map and what you need and what you don't need, etc. And also, the real problem Noah has is this, right? First of all, when he first came in, if you remember, it was in that summer split in 2023, because before that, they'd had like the end of Reckless at the LEC when he was dropping off, and the joke is he himself role swapped immediately the second he got benched. Like, they were in a position where he just got overhyped when he first came in, because if you remember in the BO1s when he joined, he was like never dying, and then it's like he had the ultimate honeymoon entrance to the LEC where he just walked in, looked like he was some super shit hot ADC who carried all the fights. Fnatic already is the team where the fans are all primed to be like, oh my god, finally, this time it's happening, because they're all fucking Arsenal fans, obviously, is the joke. And then, but there's always next season, isn't there? Whatever. Listen, I only get two times in the last 30 years I can even talk shit like that, so I'm going to do it. Don't worry about that. So anyway, the point is, Fnatic fans are the T1 fans and TSM fans of Europe. The second you do badly, though, mate, especially in the playoff sort worlds, they come to it for you more before the rival fan even gets it on you. So I also think the highs and the lows of what people's expectations, we're all so far off. Like, what I don't get about the Noah one is, I also don't think as well it helped that he then did that bizarre thing where he started out PR-wise doing the Korean thing. Like, I'm sorry for the bad games, it's all my fault, I'll try harder. But then he did that bizarre thing where he started talking shit and going like, what are you all saying I can't be in this? Which is like, mate, I'd stick with the Korean angle on that one. Like, that plays really well, that angle of like, it's all my fault. Because then people go, no, it isn't, mate, you're really good. When you do the whole thing, hey, you're saying I can't be, I'll win. Well, then, mate, you've made the stakes too high. So I think also that clearly, by the way, had a psychological backlash on him. So between the fan whiplash of like, you're the fucking go-to, you're trash, get off the team, and his own silly thing where he was hoisted by his own petard of trash talk when he didn't win with Fnatic, I think it's made people forget. This is why I've made this big point. He's not even vaguely an edgy player. He's like a player that, for me, when he's not that good, is an average ADC in the LEC. When he's good, is an above average, bordering on very good ADC. Like, he's actually not even stylistically, by the way, that outrageous ADC player. Like, he's much more in the like safer vein of ADC. I even think the way he plays. So that's why I also think the pairing with Jun's really good, because the Jun guy, by the way, has clearly shown he's doing that core JJ thing where it's like, they come to the West like, sorry, I don't speak a word of English, and just do the most god-tier engage of all time where they just find some engage 1.5 screens over. Like, that looks baller, and I think they pair really well. So I think it's great. And I even think in this team, similarly with the construction of the team, they're not a team that's going to play super heavy to the top side, and their mid lane is a super aggro fucking playmaker, assassin type player anyway. So I think this is actually a really well put together squad. Bearing in mind the budget and the fact that they don't really have the attraction power of, the Fnacs and the G2s. I think I'm with you. I think it's good. It's just a good point.
Yeah, I respect you a lot. Like, I mean, from what it sounds like, he had a decent amount of say in it, and these are the guys he vouched for. So, yeah, respect.
Okay, right, Peter, what is your good point?
Yeah, so since we're in the middle of glazing GX, yeah, I'm going to glaze ISMA. I'm an ISMA hater. There's only one jungler I hate more than ISMA, which is 113. But I guess ISMA is the guy that I underrate. I think that, and in EOLs, I think that he was on a team with Super Navarro that made him look really, really, really good. And I think that he's really suffered from that in LEC, because he's been the type of guy who's needed direction. To be clear, that Movistar Riders team, they were like perma-calling him bot. He's there literally in in Super Spocket whenever he wants to do anything. He did his job for the team. But when he went to SK, he basically didn't really shine that well. Winniski, he's looked.
By the way, would I be right, Peter, in saying, if I try to think of past opinions you've had on players, it doesn't tend to be that you're rating people off pure individual skill or unless you know something about Seed's attitude. I'm going to guess if you're not a big fan of a jungler, you don't think they have good read of the game or something, or there's something off about that. Is that the angle that they fail on for you?
Yeah, I think ISMA, basically, he's the type of jungler who he doesn't path efficiently. He's it's very clear, when you have a team comp, he's the type of jungler who I can imagine his coach has told him the first 5 minutes of the game, and he literally just he does. He's been very slow to adapt when things have gone wrong, or when sometimes you have a lane that's expected to win, but they don't win, and then he's kind of lost for what to do. And I would say that that's been my criticism of him as a player. I think on Movistar, basically their bot lane never lost, except against KC, and that made him look really, really good in ERLs. And I feel that he's the rest of that Mad Lions team. The rest of that the team that went to Mad Lions did well, and he showed a lot of his weaknesses on SK, but he seems to be building better fundamentals, which I respect a lot. And also, when he was playing with Friscari would basically just move for him. And then basically the way that Movistar would play is they would mid jungle, get priority, pick the champions to get priority no matter what, rotate into bot lane is stacking a wave and you're going to die them. And just over and over again, consistently over and over again. I think that, they weren't able to do anything consistent on SK. And I think that it was very easy to track what he was going to do, and I think he kind of got exploited at the next level up, because I think in ERLs people didn't really focus on how to counter his weaknesses. But I think when he went to LEC, like, you're playing against a higher tier of analyst, you're playing against a higher tier of coach, higher tier of jungler, they will just punish you if you're predictable, too predictable. And I think he kind of really, really suffered on that, and he's looked better since he was joining GX in a way that I didn't think he would. So respect to him. I would say that he also, I respect junglers who are able to play with high variance mid laners very, very highly. And Jankos has definitely been pretty high variance. So he doesn't have the easiest job on GX, but he's doing well. And respect, to him. When I flame a player and they do badly, I'll call them out for it. But when they do well, it's important to give them the respect they're due. And I think ISMA, whether GX are a team that is 5-6 or a team that is 3-4 will depend a lot on him, because Lot is a rookie. I have questions on him off Rumble. On Rumble, he's really, really good. But if I was an LEC team, I would be either banning Rumble or making sure you have a really good counter like Galio, and daring him to try to split push and seeing what happens. Jankos is inconsistent, so who's the guy that's going to need to back up our bot lane, our Norwegian bot lane, who we've already called out for being consistent? It has to be ISMA, and GX have definitely looked good this week, and they've looked like a team that can compete for Worlds, and that's on ISMA. Also, the rumors are GX are the best scrim team, right, or the second best scrim team, so that probably plays into it too.
So yeah, this is like actually a point I wanted to pick up. I was potentially thinking about picking up on, because I was basically asking for like public execution of ISMA like last split, but he's easily the most improved player and one of the most rapidly improved players. I once like manually counted how many bot dives ISMA failed in a season, and it was like 15 or something on SK Gaming.
Of course,
so
he
like
did.
yeah, it's amazing, mate. And he also was like the person who died the most in the enemy team's jungler without prio before 15 minutes. He had like 9 deaths in a season, like died. I was talking to Gillius about something, but like the next highest was someone at like 2, and he had done like 7. Like ISMA was an abomination on SK Gaming. Like it genuinely like a player that like showed no capability for anything. His early game jungling was terrible. If you took a camp, stole one of his camps, like his like fucking brain would like melt down. He wouldn't know what to like do next. Like he looked like a computer designed to path in a certain way, and if the object isn't there, then it just fucking breaks down the entire code. Massively improved. His tank plays pretty sick. He's like Sejuani's like quite reliable. Has been in the like more recent thing for GX. The big one for me is like, and this is just a point of providence, but ISMA is making these improvements and moving around. Now, I'm not someone who like cares that much about age, but he's like 24. ISMA's 24, and he's like making these improvements quite deep into his career. Jankos is only 20.
Yep.
So like you've kind of got to just kind of hope that as ISMA gets better and provides more stability, that like Jankos, if it's not this year, he begins to like bring down the variance a bit and like bring up the consistency if you're going to be sticking with this like core of players. And you're going to just got to hope that he can provide a platform to go from strength to strength. But yeah, massively improved with ISMA, and like again, I would rather be wrong about all these people. Like I was wrong eventually about Nuck. It only took like 6 splits for him to actually get fucking decent at the game. But like, eventually I was wrong. But he just got so many chances. Where like ISMA was like really, he had a year, then he was cut, then he got added back in, and he's proven himself again like quite quickly.
I respect. Just one more thing on this though, but which is that ISMA was playing with Niski and Rika, who are like typically people who will play for their junglers, right? Like I don't think any other jungler has looked worse playing with Niski. Like
Yeah, but this was late stage Niski, who looked like he didn't give a fuck like about like the entire career. I watched that man go underneath a fucking tier 2 tower as Tristana and blow the whole game and shrug live on stage like that when his teammates were like,
First place regular season. First place regular season. That's all I'm gonna say. Playoffs was rough. Playoffs was really, really rough. But yeah, no, I mean for people that don't know, like Rika maybe looked a bit bad in LEC, but his reputation is he is the guy. He's like the jungle guy. He will play for jungler. He's basically like his reputation is very similar to Niski. So he had like the best opportunities.
Yeah.
So other junglers have really suffered with who they've had to play with. But I would say ISMA had good opportunities, but maybe it was just a personality fit, and now he's found his home on GX. Again, let's see him in playoffs, but respect to him. He has played. He was very good this weekend. Like maybe the best jungler in the league this weekend. Maybe. Let me just think.
Nah, Yank was better. I think Yank was better than him, but whatever.
Yeah, fair. But okay. But top 2 jungler in the league this weekend.
Yeah.
And
the problem with that is
that's a very high level.
The problem with that is it begs the question, which is it that turned Niski evil against his jungler? Was it playing with El Yoya when they didn't want to play with each other, or was it actually playing with ISMA? Listen, I feel like depending on which way your bread is buttered, you can go either way on that one. One of those two people took Niski from like, I'll do anything for my jungler to like, if he dies, he dies, and they just does whatever the fuck he wants. So okay. By the way, I actually do think it's hilarious as well that's your angle, Peter, because if you don't know, that is the one thing everyone actually used to give ISMA his praise on when SK would win games. They'd be like, oh, he's pretty good in the early game, isn't he? But then he seems to sort of get a bit lost early to mid, and then late in the game, it's like his brain's just turned off. It's like, yeah, that just means like his coach really just told him his pathing for the first like 10 minutes of the game, basically, and which lanes to interact. Like, yeah, and the real problem with this is, right, that is one area you can coach junglers and you can like build them into your system, etc. But the problem you're always going to have is it only works to a certain level. Like as you're saying, maybe in an ERL you can get away with that. Maybe at the low level of LEC it can work in some games. The problem is though, the really elite junglers, first of all, they on a dime can switch up their path in and do some other genius moves. Actually, what back in the day, I remember my favourite in NA was always Meteos for that, mate. He was a fucking genius. Like you could never fuck this guy up. You couldn't quadrant this guy or steal his buff or something. He would just find some other way to path. I could tell you there's so many junglers, if you threw him in that game, it'd be over after like 3 minutes. They'd be screwed. They would even think themselves like, well, what can I possibly do now? Because I had a whole game plan and I can't follow any of the steps of it. If you give this guy the recipe, essentially, if you send ISMA to the shop and you tell him, right, listen, mate, keep focus, don't get distracted by all the lights and the sounds and stuff, right? Yeah, at the end, you can go on that horse where you pay the pound and it rides up and down with the music, but not until you've got the list, though. Remember, you need to get pasta, minced meat, and tomato. Do you get that? It's just 3 things for 1 meal, and pasta, minced meat. What's the last one? Tomato. Yes, tomato. That's right. The problem in this scenario, Peter, is he goes to the shop and there's no Italian food there. And it's like he has to think on the fly, make a Chinese meal. Yeah, he's fucked in that. No, I agree though. I actually think, if anything, by the way, the person I give props to for ISMA is fucking Giotto. Like, it looks like he's actually figured out in the squad where it looked pretty rough when they first threw him in there, how to like actually integrate this guy into the team. Because as you say, mate, if we're going to give props to like Rika and Niski for being like, the jungler's mid, I can't even imagine that Jackie's is anywhere close to their side of the spectrum. I'm just thinking of that play he made this week where it was like the other mid laner and jungler were there and he just like fucking went in to do that like Azir shuffle under the tower, which just was godlike, and he got the kill. But it's like, why are you going for shit like that? Like, where you're safe? Like, so again, if you're the jungler, I don't even know what you see on the minimap when he does that, mate. So this guy definitely does not seem like the guy who's like fucking constantly coming and he's trying to play for you. Looks like he does whatever whatever the fuck he wants. You have to keep up, as it were. But also, I'll add, that's why I actually asked you that like clarifying question about the jungle. Because look, the ISMA guy, to me, he has some hands. He can make some plays. As we say, if you take like thinking out the equation, he can follow the plan. The problem is, though, I do think that jungle and support, we're a long, long time from the idea that they really just do what other people tell them to. They have to actually have a level of autonomy and agency, to me, in the modern day. And that clearly is his cap. But I get what you mean. If we're going to flame him all the past, if you don't know Keire, his style is if he flames people on other weeks and they have one good week, he goes like, right, well, time to cash that in. Yeah, just like to redeem back some of that hate I sent your way. There you go. He sends them the bouquet of flowers, basically. You know, it's all good.
I'm familiar with Peter's style.
Okay.
Don't worry. EuroLeague has stamped some of those letters for him. Don't worry, don't worry.
And you have to understand, because he praised him this week, if you play bad the coming up week, ISMA, you might be in a different category. You might be in a different category next week. We'll see. So we'll see where that goes. Oh, also, last thing as well. The reason I know this guy at the moment, Peter, is not the player who makes all decisions, is because, boy, when he gets into the mid-game, this motherfucker never met a flip he didn't want to go for. But he's one of those guys who thinks his solo queue just goes for them all, which, listen... It's a way of playing the game, certainly, but I don't know that it's always the most advisable one. So I get why you praised him. Yeah, this is a decent week. Right, I've got a similar angle, actually, which is I'm going to do one where I don't actually have anything like mega for this one. What I'm going to do is this. Because in the past, and I'm sure it'll happen again, we have flamed the fuck out of this format. Like, I have to say, if you are watching LPL and LCK, it's really hard to watch this LEC format where you've also got two groups. But theirs is one group amazing, one group shit. This is like, how about we just dilute the talent down? You only get to see half of them play each other. It's like, that sounds like the worst regular season imaginable for LEC. I already only had 4 teams that were fucking good. Now I only get to see 2 of them play each other. Well, you know what? If I'm going to diss that, then on this particular upcoming week, I have to say that my good point is we get to watch MKOI play Carmine Corp in this upcoming week. By the way, if you know this format, you are going to get very few big marquee matchups. This is one of the few ones you're going to get. And if you think of the timing, I think the timing is perfect for this matchup because unlike what happened in the LPL and LCK, we're not making KOI play like a week after EWC and like, oh my God, I've thrown in there. Because I think that has ruined some of those T1 Gen G, anyone's edge in BLG games. Like, I can't take those as real games until it's the playoffs. But in this scenario, Carmine Corp, if people don't know, was scrimming the whole time. They were even scrimming people like G2 for MSI, etc. So they weren't taking it off. They're obviously revved to come into this split really good. KOI, I think, actually embarrassed themselves internationally, but were really good at the end of the split. I'm sure everyone wants to know, was that just like a one-off amazing run, or are they actually going to be a top tier? So you get to see it. You get to see like a real marquee matchup. And also, I'll just put this out there, I feel like the cope from European fans is KC with the secret team we should have sent, and maybe KOI just had a great playoff run, but they shouldn't have gone. So this is also, like, it's so many narratives intersected on this one. And it's just a great matchup, isn't it? Like, you get Yike against El Yoya, you get fucking Kalist against your boy Super, you get all the fucking big matchups, Vladdy against Shoujo. It's actually a fucking great. I'm actually really, again, in a field where there's a lot of games I don't give a fuck about, this is a game I'll definitely tune in for. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's a great game, and it's really interesting because the fielded team had to like show more. You know what I mean? As in, like, the KC had to play out the full BO3 and show like a bit more of what their regular season raid is, and they also got to play in deep. They had to show that they actually do have priority around the affiliates, and so now you have MKOI get to make the decisions around how they're going to do the ADC like package and pool, because they've got one of the more unique access to like the bot lane picks. Through the Smolder, the Corkies, etc., Varus, for example. So it's going to make for like a really, really good matchup. And the other bit, like, context, again, I can't agree with it more, Thorin. Yeah, like, we could just dog on this format all, but I think a lot of the teams didn't really need to break, because I actually think you're beginning to see the problem of like Tabby's, like anyone's legend, training regime, where they're actually experiencing the same burnout around about when BLG also started to feel it, when he was a coach on that team. Remember, BLG didn't even make the final. So like, I actually think LEC giving the little grace period to those teams that went away was actually, I know it affected viewership, but me, Richard and Imera could discuss that they could have done the matches in a different way to like fix that. It was actually kind of like quite good of them to do that, because then each team gets to kind of like use that grace period however responsibly they decide to do it. They can coach, half holiday, like whatever you want to call it. So it is going to make up. And again, you're going to get this like hidden murky matchup, and it's also again a different team who's holding the crown. And when you are the titular, like supposed to be best team, that's a different sort of pressure. Like the Mad Koi guys were always yippity up and coming, like we can almost do it, so close each time. Now they've got the pressure that G2's held for so long. You're now the best team. And how do you handle that pressure? How do you the expectation of the broadcast is that you're going to win every week? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I'm always excited for this matchup because I get to see Jojo against Vladdy, which is obviously like I live for Jojo versus Vladdy. I think I'm not going to claim to be neutral on that, but I would say that I think that the majority of fans, for the French and the Spanish fans, are there for Super versus Kalist, and I would say MKOI had issues internationally. Super was pretty good internationally. Another player who's improving at a steady rate, respect to him. But Kalist had a monster weekend this weekend, and like this is throwing down the gauntlet. And I will say there are some metas which are more Kalist metas, and there are some metas which are more super metas. This is a super meta. Let's put it like that. When Jinx and Aphelios are like in the metas, these are the things which he lives for. Whereas Kalist is more like has generally been better on the stomping 2v2 lane. He has a bit more creativity and things like this. So this is Super's meta versus Kalist. But I would say that from this weekend, KC had Yike was okay this weekend, but like KC, let's be clear, like the reason KC were as impressive as they were is because their bot lane was crushing and Kalist looked like he looked at the start of winter, and he didn't look tired, he didn't look exhausted, he looked like he's ready and raring to go. And I can say bot lane is going to be explosive this weekend, and that is great for the viewership, because frankly this weekend, after watching that many SK and NAVI games, just give me I've eaten my vegetables, give me the prime steak. I hope bot lane doesn't get blown open early game, because I want to watch mid jungle 2v2s. But I suspect that we're going to see everything. We're going to see 10 people at bot around 10 minutes in the game, and that's going to be fun.
By the way, I like what a weird fucking matchup that is to even be like a fucking rivalry. And the fact that both of them are champions this year, because on paper, that's like some Yagao Knight shit where it's like, look, I get why the Knight Kalist part of the equation's here. You're obviously sick. And what's the other guy doing there? Like, there's certain matchups just work in esports that seem bizarre, even though on paper that should be like Atomic Bomb versus Coughing Baby, but somehow in the server it's different, isn't it? Somehow you sometimes get someone's number,
But the funny thing about this as well is those two are the two champions, right? They're the defending champion and the champion. Yeah. And both Vitality and GX chose to be in their group.
I know.
Yeah. Like, I wish, like something is going on behind the scenes here that we're not party to, because definitely, given if I was a coach, like just looking from the outside, that's not the group I would choose to be in. I would choose to be in the G2 Fnatic group. So I'm curious.
Also, by the way, that's how you know these teams have killed the team building too. On paper, think about G2 Fnatic. This should be the Hans Hammer versus Upset era of ADC, but instead it's actually about Super versus fucking Kalist, and it is. I'm sorry, right now it is.
And just to pull on one little more narrative thread, it's actually going to be super interesting, because like Jojo Pyun, like the last time we seen him, it wasn't great, guys. Okay, it just unfortunately it wasn't like it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, right? But Vladdy's been dog shit. Like the last 5 games I watched of Vladdy, he was actual like.
I mean, the joke is, Keire, they said this themselves. They didn't bring Niski in just for vibes. Apparently, He's actually supposed to be there to sort of make it. They said it themselves to make Vladdy be more professional and do what he's supposed to do. That was their words. That's kind of telling you what they need to know right there, mate.
Yeah, like there was a game where they were 14,000 gold up last weekend, but Vladdy was down 3k gold on Rise. Like that should literally, because you can accumulate so much gold in side lanes as Rise with all the pressure on the map, that should almost be impossible. So that tells you there is an understanding like vacuum there inside fucking Vladdy's head on that pick. So like that, it's going to be real interesting to see that matchup.
Yep. Also, the trash talk from last split, where there is like Vladdy is trash in lane. I think that's what he said. So we'll go and see. I mean, banger matchup for sure. Though that's the game of the week for sure.
Yeah. Right. Okay, then, Keire, what is your bad point?
Right, and this is going to sound crazy to folk, right? But I feel like I'm one of the first people that's been on top of this. I talked to Thorin about this last year, right? We need to have a serious conversation about Flakked and his position on HRT, on Heretics, particularly. Okay.
By the way, Peter's a massive Flakked defender, lover. So
right, okay.
I want to see me comment. Hit me with it.
No. Sorry. Okay. So he lives in the perennial space of like there is no expectations on Heretics to do anything. So if he gets the team anywhere, it's like him and oh fuck, I forgot the jungler's name. It's just ejected at my head.
Shio.
Yeah, thank you. Him and Shio get like all the credit because like they're taking these players, all these like rookies. Look what they're doing, right? The problem is like if you actually watch Heretics in the game, right? Eventually, you have to justify your performance relative to your platform. And Heretics is actually getting the game into loads and loads of winning positions that then Flakked then fucks up and is not leveraging them. Like, take for example the Yunara game. He literally lost the game by not flashing a bunch of engages. That's just not acceptable if you're a top tier ADC. If that was Han Sama or Upset or Super or Kless, fans would literally be asking for him to be like executed, fucking French Revolution style in the middle of the town centre. But because he's Flakked, it's like, oh well, like it's nothing. And then the next consideration they all give is like, well, he's a big voice on the team. Right? Well, see if you want to be a big voice on the team, which I can understand. By the way, somehow simultaneously, Shio's also a big voice on the team. You know, multiple people can talk. That has to be considered against. You need more firepower. You cannot simultaneously, right, have Flakked who then cannot carry from the positions that you get him to because of his like unreliable like mechanics and execution, and then fill the rest of your spots with like rookie players who then cannot provide the firepower that is needed to execute on the positions that Flakked can provide. And so this is just happening over and over and over again. So Heretics need to decide what type of team they want to be, because if you actually look at their macro, they were outplaying Fnatic all the time. They got the first 2 games to absolute Kino winning positions. They should have won both of them, and both of the times it was like, holy fucking shit, like Flakked is almost like he couldn't be playing as some of these endgame fights any worse. So this is my problem with like Flakked. He's got that like reputation, like the man that sleeps till noon. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know where you move from here, but he isn't living up to the positions he's been given.
So I have to push back on this slightly. Are we not going to give him credit for his Aphelios game?
What? He's Aphelios game? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, he gets credit for a single game, but he blew the other one, so you're 1-1. You're supposed to be 2-0 to be a good player.
Okay, fine. Okay. Look, I'm not going to defend the first game, right? Heretics should have won the series 2-0. Or they were in a position to win the series 2-0. I will say though that Flakked definitely has the capability to carry, but the one thing that Flakked really, really enables is he enables your support to do whatever he wants on the map. And if you look at this Heretics team, what makes this Heretics team scary, what makes this Heretics team even vaguely competitive, it's that their jungle support are so good, right? And I think that you put Upset on this team and their jungle support aren't going to be as good. Maybe Upset Stend, stomping lane, right? Stend, when he was in ERLs, played with a player called Yoppa. They were like, so when I was watching their VODs in the offseason, like they're some of the best 2v2 laning in the entire ERLs. So maybe Sten can switch and be that hard 2v2 player instead of like playing with his jungler so well. But I mean, come on, man! Like Flakked, look at who he's playing with. He's playing with.
That doesn't make him not press buttons as Xayah. Well, he's literally bot lane as Xayah. A Trundle pillar appears next to him. He goes up in the air, doesn't flash forward with Fellers, and kills all of Fnatic. Like, that is Flakk's problem. His support player isn't reaching across, punching him in the crotch, and fucking taking his mouse and keyboard off him. Like, they failures of execution, I hold to him. And here's the thing, he's actually been supplied the leads in the platforms. Like, right now, there's not that much data, but this is a point from, like, previous ago as well. Like, where I'm just seeing a lot of mis-execution. Yes, he provides the ability for a style. I 100% agree with you, Peter. And that style is the best part of Heretics. Again, I can 100% agree with you.
Okay, but I just have to ask a question then for this, which is is this an issue with Flakked being the primary carry on the team? So do you think that let's say we put Canna on Heretics, then you would be happy with Flakked being on Heretics, right?
Yes, Heretics has got to make a decision with team building because right now, if Flakked is your primary fire piece, he does not justify his position of the platform he's being given in terms of the resources that are being allocated to him. In terms of his performance of the allocation of those resources, right? So you need to either make a choice of upgrade the firepower, either you go get humanoid and you stick him in mid lane, or you go get you know what I mean, theoretical.
Yeah, no, I can see it.
I can't pull into tier 2, bro, because I don't watch the fucking that shit.
Sure.
So you could fill them out better than me, but Heretics need to decide what team they want to be because they're going to just be stuck in mediocrity in this team for a long time. And you've got Shio, you've got Stend. I think, mate, these are banging players, mate. These are fucking. This is the what I was told Europe had in tier 2. You know what I mean? And you've really got to leverage that, and you've got to start making decisions quick. You know what I mean? Or you end up in another position where KC ends up with all the talent, Mad end up with all the talent, G2 end up with all the talent.
So, I mean, just my final point on Flakked, which I will say, is that I think there is one. So I think Flakked is making a lot of the macro calls because Shio normally is making. There's different types of shot calling, right? There's snap shot calling and there's structure shot calling, right? So Shio is very good at snap shot calling, which is you say you engage or set up this. Whereas in order for a player to have that freedom, they need structure, right? And Flakked is really, really good at giving that structure. So I'll say that for first thing in Flakked's defense. Second thing, as a primary carry, I concede your point on Flakked. I think Flakked has the ability to definitely be more selfish. And I would say that probably Flakked's best split on Heretics was the one where he played, where they came fourth, where Heretics came fourth with when Evie was top and VTO was mid. And he was demanding resources aggressively, but he was the type of player who, after every game or every scrim where he didn't demand resources, when he should have, some member of the coaching staff had to go to him and be like, "You're not demanding enough resources. It doesn't matter that we won this game. It doesn't matter that VTO, got all of those kills. You need to call for more resources." And it got to a point where within the team it was a little bit of a meme where we were we'd stop the game in 25 minutes and we'd be like, "Flakked, you didn't call for this stack wave," So I think this is something you definitely have to be on his back. I think it's possible. I've seen him do it in the past when he was in ERLs because I coached Flakked as a 16-year-old when he was in ERLs and then went to NA and then when he came back, obviously on Heretics. When I came back, and then obviously he was on Heretics. I would say that the thing about Flakked is he is the type of guy who he's the Odoamne of AD carry. He wants to sacrifice. He wants to be in the bad matchup. He wants to be 1v2 in lane, going 10 CS down instead of 20 CS down, and letting his support jungle dominate the map. But sometimes I take your point, which is a good point about Heretics, which is you need firepower sometimes. And I don't think Flakked's incapable of doing it. I think he just doesn't feel comfortable taking that responsibility unless you push him really, really hard for it. And I see that to you because I do think that this Heretics team, their macro is good, their support jungle is good, but sometimes their team fighting is not the best, and sometimes they get very, very far behind in the early game, and they just need somebody on that team to be a bad guy and be come to my lane and take upsets, play around me philosophy and put it on Flakked, do a brain transplant and be you've got to come bot, you've got to come bot now on this wave or else there's going to be consequences. There's going to be no bubble tea this afternoon for any of you, or something like this. And then I think then you'll see more of the Flakked that other people see in him. But I concede that this year he's not had to do that. And the construction of the team and the long-term project of the team has allowed him to dodge that. But if Heretics want to take the next step up, they either need to make a change with their carries, specifically mid lane, put a high resource, hyper carry player in mid lane, like a VTO, or he needs to be more selfish because he can't be as unselfish as he is and have Heretics beat the top 4 teams. They can come 5th, 6th again, but I think that he needs to be more selfish for sure. I agree.
My problem is I definitely agree with Keire. Like, there is that fucking Gordon Ramsay meme thing going on where if, like, Upset did any of this shit, it's like, you fucking donkey, get out the game. But then when Flakked does it, it's like, oh, darling, oh, poor baby, oh, I feel so bad for you. Like, it must really hurt to suck in the game. Like, I know what you mean, Keire. It's like, wait, is this actually a real player, or are we all just saying we like him as a person? Because there's one of them, I understand why we're biased, but like we are evaluating players. And that is one of my problems with Flakked, is that like you notice a lot of the qualities people say he's really good at or better than other people are things that don't actually show on the server. They're like intangible aspects of team building or dynamics within a squad or communication elements. And that obviously, if you're not someone who's been inside the team, those are really subjective. Like it tends to be if you like the person or the team's winning, you say all those things are the case. Otherwise, you just have to take people's word for it, don't you? So, like on one level, here's the sad thing, Peter. On one level, I do fuck with Flakked as a player. I told people this. Once I actually saw him and Targamas separately, I actually realised more sort of like what he did. And his problem is this. I think we've actually collectively nailed it. The real problem is, notice when Peter went through the whole squad there, he just didn't, until the end, say out loud, the problem is the solo laners aren't good enough, both of them. And that's the issue, right? Because if you actually do have Flakked, we not only already saw it on G2, but it would work on other teams too. If you put him on a team with strong solo laners, then he'd be a really good addition to the squad, especially like aggressive solo laners. Like I would give the analogy, like in an ideal world, obviously this player was much greater, he's Korean, but the analogy for Flakked should be like to try and be the EU Prey, if you know the old school reference, where the idea is, again, you're willing to be have the bad matchup, you're just going to go even in lane, your job is to come with people and play for them, and like you say, don't take too much resources but do what you can with it, because actually this is where I agree with Keire though, Peter. The real problem is this: when you do have dodgy solo laners or people who don't get ahead in the game or themselves aren't carrying the game, right? The temptation as a coach is going to be just draft strong things. And the problem is, this isn't a player at ADC that I want to just draft the strongest ADC champion in the game and then give him it. I agree with Keire in a way, like he's not the player you're going to load up with your resources if you want to win a match in the LEC. And my issue is, even though you say that like, oh, you can remind it, yeah, but that's the downside is, you know what the absolute super elite, like lunatic mechanical ADCs are like? They're the opposite, mate. They're the ones you're trying to fucking rein in all the time and you're trying to bring them back on the fucking reel. Like, it's the other way around. I think it's really hard to make a person like that become egotistical, become the guy who wants all the, in a way, become selfish. It's hard. I think it's hard to make players do that if that's not their inclination. And isn't one of the main things people say about this guy is it's all from personality and being level-headed about the game and stuff. Unfortunately, most great ADCs I knew, this is why the extreme example is Forgiven, were none of those things. If anything, sometimes it's a feature, not a bug, that they did. Like, the joke is, people think this is a meme, right? A lot of people have done those jokes, like back in the day, just retired now, when my boy Jensen said, like, haha, I will clap Faker. He didn't really mean that. He just knew it was a funny thing to say. I can tell you right now, when Forgiven thought he was better than Ruler, that was real. Like, he was saying that to me off the camera and on the camera. Like, and he believed it, Peter. That's the worst thing. If you'd have, like, put him in the fucking interrogation, he'd have believed that till his dying breath, even though, by the way, he was wrong. But listen, in a way, what I loved is that he was so wrong. So the problem is, Flakked isn't that guy. Come on. So it's all right. He had a bad week. It's all good.
Sure. I mean, what I say about Flakked, though, is you can see this in the game, and I think this is the point which Kerie is going on, right? Which is that this is a guy who, when he sees his solo laners are suffering, his instinct is not give me resources I will carry. It's let me suffer, let me sacrifice even more. Let me like, you know, I'm already living in rags. You know, let me have like no clothes at all. You know, so that
I don't need a Christian. I need a pagan fucking berserker Viking in the bot lane, bro. I don't need some guy jumping in Joan of Arc's fucking pyre and burning with her. I need a raider, bro, going across the English Channel. Like, roll, boys, roll. Let's go.
Remove the civilization. You know, bring in the Forgiven. You know, whip the rookies into shape. Literally. I mean, sure, but to me, I think that the way Heretics are now, they can't compete for Worlds. But if we're having this conversation in one split, like from now, because next year, obviously, if you do this, if you basically they haven't quite sacrificed the year because they're kind of ahead on schedule, but it looked like they were if you like have a development year, your second year has to be the big one, and I guess that's a decision they have to make in the off season. Obviously, I would go with the hyper carry mid laner, but you know I could definitely see the argument.
Peter, in spite of everything we just said, you don't have to kick Flakked. Like if you just keep the jungle solo, the jungle and the bot lane, that's the basis of a pretty good team, mate. If you can get, and by the way, of all the talents to pick up solo laners from the RLs, you can get that all day long. Like no, what you mean. If you use this as the blueprint, this could be the jumping off point for next year. True. Right, go on then. What is your bad point?
My bad point for this week is, oh boy, this week was rough for Vitality. It was really, really rough. You know, I think I said last week, I watched the NNO tournament. You know, maybe watching games against SK and BK Rog wasn't the way to judge how good Vitality were. Because, oh man, it was rough. It was rough, and it was rough for Linkers as well, who is the guy who obviously I always watch closely when I'm
well, he was one of the people making your boy ISMA look good, mate. He was one of the people making him look good, bro.
I mean, I coming in at the start of this year, if you said to me which jungler is better, Linkers and ISMA, I would have laughed you out of the conversation, right? Like, and I mean, it definitely looked like a laughable conversation in this series. That's all I will say. I mean, like, oh boy. So. We were optimistic. So I was a bit optimistic about Vitality for last week. I think, firstly, number one, GX played really well this weekend. True, but I mean, I would say that Fleshy did not look comfortable on stage. Knack basically couldn't do anything on Cassante and Ornn. Linkers just got out jungled. Syke is inconsistent. He's a rookie. He's just going to be inconsistent. You know, his Ziggs game wasn't that good. I think he wasn't too bad on Victor. I think he was better. Like then again, Jackie's isn't the best control mage player in the world. So you know, okay, you beat Jackie's at his weakest, right? So congratulations for that. But to me, the scary thing was Kazi, because you know Kazi may be inconsistent, but he is the type of guy who you can always rely on to click his buttons when things really, really matter. And he looked rough this weekend. And you know. I'm hoping, because obviously I have a soft spot for Vitality, I'm not neutral in this. I hope the Vitality put it together, but the signs did not look good. And I mean, to me, the scary part of this is the Linkers look so much worse than ISMA, because Linkers actually has a support, like a consistent playing support, and he didn't use him properly. And yes, Fleshy was pretty rough on his Braum game, but let's be clear, Linkers didn't have a good series. Kazi had a really, really bad series. And how tragic is it that your rookie top laner is the one who's like standing in the top lane and you're like, what the fuck, guys? You know, like I'm 20 CS up, like, what are you guys doing? You know, the game's already over before he can play. And you know, maybe Vitality, instead of giving Lot Rumble and playing into Rumble, they should have just banned it and let Knack take the skill matchup for this weekend. I mean, I don't see a world where Vitality won't make top 8 because frankly, if you don't make top 8, it's pretty disgraceful. But it's looking rough if GX are this tricky.
So I'll just here's the thing, Pierre. I actually agree. Cause again, we're going to hold hands on this one here, mate. I fucking hate this squad, mate. I hate this squad. I hate the fucking excuses, mate. They're like, fuck. It's an absolute disgrace how much. Put it this way, if you're Vitality and you don't make worlds because of Nako being a psychopath, that's acceptable. If you don't make worlds because fucking Karze is fucking dog shit, I'm sorry, Karze, bro. Like, the reason you're on Vitality is to be one of the best players in the whole LEC. That is the premise. That is what you were for Mad Lions. That is why you've been brought here. That is what you are here to do. Like, the whole, like, Karze's, like, deflective, like, kind of, like, semi-clown persona that he has on, like, Twitter and stuff like that. Like, yeah, like, you can have that on, like, Twitter and stuff. But when you're in the game, you can't be, like, fucking dashing into, like, Sejuani's as Lucians to start fights, bro, and, like, being a clown in the server. And that's where it becomes unacceptable, when the actual stability of the team is coming from your rookie psychotic top lane. The other thing is like, I agree with you, how jarring must it be that watching, like, ISMA and Lintas in Tier 2, and it's like, oh, now ISMA's just better than them. Not, like, generally, but, like, in this specific week, it's like, this guy was, like, the KC farming carry machine, and now it's just, he looks like he's had his balls chopped off.
Yep.
And then the last one is mate. Okay. Shaek not being able to play Ziggs. Okay, I'm really like trying to like think of this here. The composition that they have against Giant X and the Maokai, like K'Sante, like Ziggs comp. Yes, like that is not a complicated composition, guys. It really isn't. It's not complicated at all. But does Vitality, who on Vitality is actually following like the game principles, like the actual like how we should play, how we should set things up? Because it's a fucking mess, and we're in summer. It's not any better than it was before. It's depressing, and so bro, this team's SK and Navi are disappointing because they're wastes of time and they're not even real projects, right? This team's Vitality's disappointing because it could have been something real and it just looks like a waste of time. So I'm with you, mate. It's fucking grim, bro. It really is.
Fleshy wasn't good, but like you can't really blame Fleshy, right? Like, I mean.
Yeah, but you can blame him in the sense of why is he being inserted in the summer split, and then why am I now having to go, well, wait, you can't judge me. I can. I'm sorry. Guess what? First of all these games count. And secondly, no one forced you to do that, mate. You're the one who decided to burn a split on Hillsang, then a split on Niski, and now you're like, hey, don't judge my third. Fucking I think I'll judge them all. How about that? I'll just judge every game in pro play that you're paid a salary for, and I'll judge all the players that you put in the server. And do you know what? Are you ready? This is going to really sting. If you put the player in a scenario where he fails, and you're saying it's not totally on his back, guess what? Part of it's on you. Why you put him in that scenario, mate? Why are you making him look bad by that logic? So I'll never understand that logic. It's like, if you're going to insert something like that in the summer split, you're telling me I'm gambling this guy can make it and he's going to be great off the bat. Otherwise, what are we doing at this point in time? Because, spoiler, as seen by that interview with Neo, there isn't 2 more years coming down the line on this project, mate, that you're building towards. This is fuck or walk. Like, this is the split. This is the split where you get fired if it doesn't work out. So that's the bother to me. And then also, in general, look, this is a bigger point we haven't got time to go into here, but like, how fucking cursed is Vitality League of Legends? Like, bro, not only have they had like, probably at this point in time, genuinely 6 or 7 rosters, if you want to go back like 10 years or so, that the amount of rosters they've had before the split that look like, hey, that should be like the 3rd or 4th best team in the whole LEC. And then they're just like borderline playoffs, not playoffs. It's, by the way, this is why I say it could be a whole side tangent. It doesn't even connect to anyone as far as I can know. It's not a GM that did it all. Those are changed in the meantime. It's not a coach. It's not any players. And by the way, here's the reason why I say their org is cursed. Bro, the amount of people who either later became all LEC talent or were all LEC talent before, some of them were even all LEC on Vitality, but the squad never ever comes together. Like, at this point in time, it's not even a joke. The best Vitality is still the fucking Yamato Cannon one from like fucking last century or whatever, last decade, you know what I mean? Like, that was ages ago. That was fucking ages ago. So sadly, this is, even though it's a different remix, it's more of the same. It's more of like, well, on paper, like, by the way, spoiler, of course I bet on fucking Vitality against GX. I look at the 2 rosters, I'm like, they should be better. Like, this should actually be one where you separate yourself from the Heretics and the GXs of the world, and you're the one heading to the big 4, not going down and then GXs of the world above you. And actually now you have to ask the question, like we say, are you just a borderline playoff team? And also, by the way, the Kazi one, this is also why if you're Kazi and whoever put people around Kazi, this is why you don't fuck around and burn yours, mate. Because we all gave you extra props when you were amazing with Hillsang Inting. Guess what? Last year and part of this year, for all we know, there was times maybe actually it was your fault. You were playing bad too, but you got the ultimate get out of jail free card that we all just blamed Hillsang. Well, now there is no Hillsang, so it's also time that you have to play really well. And I get that, like, it's years later now, but like, that's why you don't burn yours. When you're in your peak, you got to fucking capitalize and really get the most out of it. You can't just go, well, I'll just get it done next year. It's like, how many years do you get in a career, you know? So I know what you mean. Like, the problem is, on paper, I still look at it though and still see the potential. The potential is still there. Like, they could literally turn it around tomorrow and beat most teams in the LEC, I feel like. But at the moment, this is a shit start, I'll give you that. It's a good bad point. It's just a bad start, mate. It's just a bad start.
Yeah. Believe it.
Right, what I have done for my bad point, it ties into something you were just saying there, Keire. Essentially, I'll phrase it this way. Navi, what's the point? I just don't know what the point. I don't know on any angle what the point is of this. Like, even if you want to say the Corp angle, which, by the way, I'm getting really bored of these narratives. So I'm just going to say right now, I don't believe the Corp. So the Corp angle would go like this. Well, you know, at least the players get to have the summer split now, and then if they're good, we'll see them next year. Did you not see that interview where they already said something like that the jungle's going to change or something mental like that? Like, no matter what. Like, so already I'm not actually just watching the Thega guy now, Peter, to see, oh, well, would he be good next year if they put it? No, this isn't a real roster. This isn't a real project, like Keire said. They're going to change a whole bunch of things with it. Also, I thought Dom made an excellent point. So I actually just pulled up the game while you guys were talking there. If you go and watch Game 2 of the Carmine Corp series, look at the draft for Navi. So they have Larson on Yone. Malrang, who's just role swapped to support, is playing Nico like he thinks he's Kerie or something. Like, bro, and Cho'Gath on Adam. Like, this is mental. And the coaching staff didn't change. It's still fucking Freddy 1-2-2, isn't it? Like, I don't know what's going on with this project. Like, it's so bizarre. This is almost like people are just phoning in their work or something. I don't know what I'm supposed to get hyped about on this one. And then look, this will tie into a later point, so I won't make it a big point here. But I'll just put it this way. The ultimate sign that your squad has no, like, fucking tantalizing, potential future angle that I can buy into is the second that you actually did that announcement where you were like, Jankos joins as content creator. I was like, bro, I needed him to be the jungler of this team to save this shit. You know what I mean? Like, this is a bummer because now I'd rather watch your streamer than your fucking real actual team. Like, so I've just put it. That's why I picked this my bad point. What is the point of Navi? I don't get what the point of this is. Maybe next year they're a different squad. It'd be awesome. This project, I don't know what. This is such a weird Frankenstein creation. I don't know what the point of this split is, boys. Come on. What do you think, Keire?
Bro, here. So I didn't watch Hans Samdi and fucking in Tier 2, right? I'm not watching all that shit, right? But don't worry, I watched him in the LPL. Okay. And he's got the dog shit certificate from the LPL, so don't worry. Okay. So I didn't need to watch him in Tier 2. I could just watch a whole LPL season and just be like, yeah, that guy's never going to be anything. So there we go. I couldn't believe it when I seen it. I thought it was somebody on Wikipedia had actually put Hans Sama in that box by accident. And then I was like, no way. They're doing necromancy now and they've resurrected this guy for the fucking dead. And then it turns out he's a Tier 2 player and everything. He's had a whole life outside of China.
Oh yeah, he's 24 years old. Fucking hell.
Yeah, he's fucking ancient. He was on TT Gaming where they went like 1-17. He was really good. Anyway. Fucking can't get that one. Here's the problem. I actually do watch one Tier 2 team, and Thigar's on it, because I watch the Barcelona team for their ADC player, because, bro, genuinely, because his name's Legolas, so I was like, that would be funny, just to see if this guy's any good. And he's alright, he could play in the LEC. I would rather have Barcelona's bot lane and coaching staff, just all of them be transported onto Vitality with Larson and Adam, and that be the team. I would genuinely just prefer that. Like, I would just abduct that entire roster and just plug those. I would rather watch that than this fucking Frankenstein, like, Greek chimera. By the way, if you're the LEC commissioner or whoever's in charge of the LEC, you are so pissed off that SK Gaming and Navi have done this, because they have basically made the whole someone gets eliminated, like, portion of it utterly pointless, because guess what? It's most certainly going to be the teams you already know from week one, because people aren't even trying. It would piss me off so much. And I'm just bored. It's like when Rich asked me on EuroLeague, mate, I was like, what do you think? It's like, why do I care? None of these people are going to be here. None of it fucking matters. Just go 0-8 and fuck off.
So the problem which bothers me is Rilek. I don't know how to pronounce him, but I watch him when, like, this guy has potential, right? So he's young, he has potential. Like, there's options there, right? So he's not a bad guy to build around, right? Like, if you were going and saying, I need a 19-year-old jungler, I'm going to go and build around this guy. That's not a bad jungler to build around. Okay, right. That's the good side out of the way. Okay, now the Jankos thing. Jankos, like, how would I say, is not stupid enough to join this roster. I mean, look, Malrag support, Hamsam the AD carry, and, like, look, Adam who is flippy, right? Like, what can you, like, this is the type of roster you go on for your career to die, right? Sure. And Tiger, like, he was good on Barcelona. Like, he played well with Chocolade. Like, he probably thought, because he gave an interview where he said he wasn't told that he was that they were signing a new jungler for the next offseason.
Yes.
So he probably thought, I'm going to go and join this roster. It's an 18-month project.
There you go.
I get one split for free, and then great. Next year we'll go properly.
Yeah.
And then they go and sign Relic, and he's gone, right? Like that. If you're going to sign a 19-year-old, like really talented mechanical jungler.
Also, Peter, if you're going to give a guy his first ever split in the LEC and he has one chance to prove himself, his solo laners are Adam and Larson. Like, can I get a break, mate? These are the most ridiculous idiosyncratic solo laners probably ever. What are we doing?
I mean, like, this is the type of roster where if you are a jungler, you shouldn't join it. And the only reason I think that the Tiger joined it, either because he's desperate, but I don't think he was desperate because his team were top 2 at EU Masters. They lost to
Tournament.
He's on a team where he gets on well with his coaching staff. I know that he gets on really well with Chocolat, right? Like his mid laner. The only reason you would join this roster is if you thought that you had next year, and this split is just a write-off. And so they basically trapped a jungler. They've put Malrang on support. That was never going to work. Like, I mean,
he's not even a good jungler, mate, for a start. Like, Malrang's not even good at his primary role, bro, so I don't know why I would want him playing support, mate. No, what I wish, Peter, I wish the players, all the players in Europe had striked this team, by the way, and everyone refused to play jungle. See, literally everyone just refused to play jungle for the team and just left it as a 4-man roster. That's what I would have fucking wanted, mate. Like, I fuck this team, man.
The thing I don't understand, right, is you have... You can, okay, so let's say you can't get rid of Larson's contract. Let's say you don't want to get rid of Adam because he gives you something to play around, right? Why would you not just go 3 rookies?
Yeah,
like, what are you hoping to get with Sandy, Malrang, and like, what are you hoping? You're not going to Worlds, right? Like, there's literally no purpose for this roster. You're not developing. You're not like, you know, if you're going to go 0 whatever, you can probably get cheaper players. So like. You wouldn't have had to pay a buyout, right, for Tiger. So because they did pay a buyout, it was a very cheap buyout. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember when I saw the story, the buyout, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a cheap buyout. That means that Chocolad's probably not locked on because I was thinking about Chocolad, you know, options to go to other teams because he's one that actually should be in LEC. So you paid a buyout for a player who you're not going to keep. There's no point. Like, you're not even throwing it away properly, right? If you're going to throw it away properly, just get some rookies. They'd probably be really, really grateful. Like, imagine you can get some, like, just get the Barcelona bot lane. Get the Barcelona bot lane, put them there. They're probably really thankful that they get to play in LEC. They're probably like, oh, I get to play with Larson, yay, you know, like, and at least you're going to have people who are motivated, right? But I can imagine how miserable it must be to play jungle on this team right now. Because you know your career, you know that you have just fucked your career. You know that, like, this is the only chance you're ever getting in LEC, and you are never getting another shot because this roster is going to go 0-8, and then you're going to be your in-game name is going to be stained by association with this roster forever. And probably from his interview, it sounds like he wasn't told this. So you've even fucked your future negotiations. Like
bro, you can put the Navi name on it, but you can't take Rogue at a Rogue, bro. Like, that's fucking over the players, you know what I mean? Like,
the worst thing to ever happen to Freddy 122 was winning the LEC with Malrang, because it did the same as what Hillisang did to Mac and Pad. It just made them believe, like, well, guess I'm just trapped in a death spiral, this guy, for the rest of my career. Like, they just never give up on the person. So I don't know, and I don't get it, because it's like, if I've identified you don't want Malrang as a jungler, you're halfway there. You actually just don't want Malrang, mate. You don't need him to. He's not prime high from 2014. Like, we got to get him in the roster somehow. Like, you don't. I swear, you don't have to get him in the roster. Like, there's so many eligible support players. Please.
Execute was basically their only good player last play. No? Like, not good. Like, medium, moderate,
all right.
acceptable player.
Yeah,
right?
like, at least,
Adam. Yeah, but the thing is, to me, the thing that is bad for Navi for all of this, because, you know, plenty of orgs, you know, KC when they came into the league, they had they came 10th. But they played the loyalty angle, right? They played we're super loyal to our players. You know, they deserve a shot. We're going to go and give them a shot. You know, they found a way to spin it. I do genuinely believe that KC thought that Saken and Kabashar, they wanted to pay them back, right? I think they should have promoted their jungler with them instead of bringing in Bo, but, you know, they deserve the shot. But this Navi roster, when that Tiger interview went public, like, you should just not let him talk to the media. Like, if he gives an interview like that, that like dooms your next offseason. They're fucked for next offseason because of that interview. And I don't think they even realize it, because I can tell you the ERL prospects, they look for this stuff, especially the agents, right? Every single time Navi tried to sign a player next offseason, that interview is going to be like given to from an agent to a player to say why you shouldn't join or why we should like push them for more money. And like, just if you're going to be like this, if you're going to do this, don't let them speak to the media. At least if you're going to be evil, at least be like evil properly, you know, like
competently. Yeah. True. Okay, there you go. I think that was a pretty good bad point. Let's go on now to the ugly. So, Keire, what is ugly at the moment?
Fucking Fnatic, bro, and just Fnatic's like macro. No, I can't understand. And here's my point, okay?
Come on.
Right, so there's three pillars of problems on Fnatic. The first problem, right, okay, for some reason, right, okay, when Upset plays with Razork, Upset is like, it tends to be fine, but Razork gets worse, right? For whatever reason. Now, maybe it's because Upset's the biggest voice, maybe it's because like Razork doesn't talk because Upset's talking, and then like some people need to talk in the game to be able to be a voice in the game to actively participate as well. But whatever the reason, I don't care what the conjecture is, right? That combination of players together, it makes one of them worse. And one of the things on Fnatic is one of the big first things you need to have is Razork needs to be one of the best junglers. Because if you just look historically at Fnatic, when Razork is one of the best junglers, that is when they're like almost able to beat G2. They're able to they're almost man. You know what I mean? When fucking Razork's one of the best players. Second of all, is I do not know how this team's macro can consistently not improve all the time. There are individual players who are trying to do like good things, like Mickey X on resets when he's coming out of base. But the actual like team, their lane swaps, their fucking side lane allocation, their movements off of midsection, how they go and approach like objectives, it's a fucking mess. And it's been like this. Genuinely, we're getting on for about like 3 years, with this like group of like coming and going like players. Like, how is it that like Heretics I've just got better macro than you? How is it that like all the other top teams are not just like a little bit ahead of you in terms of like map decision making? They're like miles ahead of you in terms of decision making. And the third last like problem is, and I don't generally, as like a rule, Peter, like you maybe know this, I don't like talking about coaches because I don't know what the fuck coaches do, so I just don't talk about them, right? But here's my conjecture. What the fuck is going on with like Fnatic, where you have the personality problems and the what they called motivational problems, and then you have Grabs on the team, and one of his strengths is supposed to be man management, yet all the actual man management issues on the team seem to be worse, and the only direction Fnatic have is Upset goes, give me all the resources, and we're going to do RNG 2017, when I need Fnatic to be RNG 2018. That's what I need fucking Fnatic to be. And, like, you know what I mean? This is a problem. It's fucked already.
Who's Yahoo?
Yeah! What?
Who? Who is Yahoo?
It's awful, bro. And that's why it's ugly. Because, like, Fnatic, we're supposed to conjecture are our top team, never look elite, never look like they're going to make that leap. And it's just getting more and more depressing every single time.
They're 2-0, though.
I don't give a fuck, mate. That's like Kanye West playing basketball, bro, if you know the reference. Like, I don't give an absolute fuck, bro. Like, I genuinely don't care. This is a team that should be trying to win the LEC or should be shooed in for going to Worlds. They're going to be struggling to go to Worlds, bro. And when these players don't go to Worlds, it's going to be unacceptable. With that roster, like, it's not even with like Poby on it, you know what I mean? Like, you made the decision to sign him, so I've got to treat him like you've just signed fucking Scout or like fucking Faker's next prodigy. Like, you chose to play this guy, so he's under Fnatic considerations. So,
no, it makes sense. Like, I mean, it was rough. Like, you know, Fnatic are 2-0 this weekend. Poby has like the highest KDA in the league. Look. He wasn't bad this weekend. He was inoffensive this weekend. He deserves part credit for not completely running it down, but you were against Abadage and Kabilu. Like, I mean, you know, that's like the entry tier. You know, that is, the LEC have been as kind as they possibly can be with Fnatic's schedule, because you get to go from Kamilu to, you get to go Kamilu, Abadage, Nuke, who is like we'll see where you really are, and then you get to play. Then you get to play caps. You don't just go in right at the start at the high level. So we can't really judge how good he is. We can judge that he is at least stable against bad teams, and does his job in team fights and is capable of not dying stupidly, right? So, okay, you get a partial credit. But these guys almost lost to Heretics and could easily have lost 2-0 to Heretics. And frankly, this is a team that how should I say? Heretics are not a team which are going to contest you aggressively in the early game, and you will have some agency in the game, 100% guaranteed, unless you fuck it up, right? This should have been the perfect opportunity to show some nice, clean macro, and they didn't get it. And, you can maybe say, sure, they bounce back against SK, but frankly, I'm sure that there's 5 ERL teams that can beat SK. To be kind, I'm going to say there's 5 ERL teams. I think there's probably close to 10 ERL teams that could probably beat SK in a best of 3. So you don't really get credit. You don't really get credit for that either, right? So we'll see. I'm willing to withhold judgment for one thing, which is that this week they play against BDS, and BDS will be a litmus test, right? Because BDS, actually, they're not a challenge to get you to Worlds. But if Fnatic can show me something against BDS, then I give them a pass. But this was a very unconvincing 2-0 week for sure. And I mean, you can't play the give upset all the resources strategy against KC or against Kerie. You can maybe do it against G2. Maybe you can get away with it against G2. But if you try to do that, KC and Kerie, their mid laners are more than happy to just sacrifice everything. Jojo is happy to go 20 CS down for super if he needs to, right? If the series is about bot lane ego, Jojo will take the hit. Vladdy has done it before. He's not as comfortable doing it, but these guys are psychopaths that are psychopaths in a way that Poby is not going to be willing to be a psychopath, right? Just from seeing him play. So we'll see how it goes. I was a bit disappointed with Fnatic, but this is the cost for taking out one of your major voices, right? So we just have to see.
Right, 2 things. One, this is also why when you talk about, because I agree, and whenever I see SK or Navi on the docket, I don't even take that as a real match. What do I take from that? I'd be more shocked if you lost, surely. I can't give you many points for winning. Again, what are you supposed to do? That's like ordering a hot dog and successfully getting the hot dog in your mouth, not all over your face. Well, yeah, okay, that's the most basic assumption imaginable, but I guess congrats or something, mates. So, by the way, it's also why on the other side, I've always said, so I'm not the one who invented it. I took the idea from Kerie. They should always have made EMEA Masters an NLB type tournament that the bottom LEC teams are forced to play in. Because I'll tell you what, if you want to actually hold all the bad GMs' feet accountable, put them against the top 8 EMEA Masters teams and you will expose the actual fucking bombs of GMing in Europe. Because those guys, I agree with you, Peter, some of these teams would give them fucking work. Some of the teams like the aforementioned, funny enough, the players that are in Team Navi came from the squads that would have beaten them, the fucking EC Japan and fucking Barcelona. It's not even just Los Ratones. It's 3 or 4. Probably even Karmine Corp Blue would get some of these squads. These teams probably would win, mate, especially in just a neutral ground where it's not oh my god, the LEC and all the lights. And if you just put them in a neutral space or exhibition, they probably would win. Now on the Fnatic thing, this is why also I'm not particularly impressed at the idea that you take the giant humanoid contract, commit to using him again for the year, and then don't play out the last split and bring in a Korean no-name person to just go, hey, play the game. Because surely one of the few things that was always going for Humanoid was the idea that he has a contributing voice to the team. Now, I will say, within Fnatic, this is why so many of the convos I had 10 years ago have aged beautifully, mate. Because every fucking person, we all know some of the people that might be mutuals of all of ours that did this angle back in the day, every person treated me like I was a cretin, and that when I said you need shot calling, I was saying one person talks and no one else speaks, and it's Counter-Strike. By the way, it was never that, and spoiler, even Counter-Strike doesn't work that way. You have secondary callers, you have people depending on their role, might in their role contribute information that the IGL then makes the decision from. But my problem is this, what I was always arguing against, because the original team that taught me this doesn't work, is my boy Froggen and CLG EU. Their whole perspective was you don't need one shot caller, because everyone, should be democracy. Everyone should contribute. And by committee, something, question mark, we win the game. And what they had to learn very quickly is you just lose to the team where, guess what, they're also all given the information, but then someone who's really smart makes a great call. Like, if you don't have the guy to make the call, you're just not going to be as good. You're always going to be behind the tempo, as it were. And then secondly, you're also going to be in scenarios where the democracy angle doesn't work. Guess what? There are a lot of famous democracies, shout out people like Belgium, where the whole premise of the democracy is everyone blocks everyone. That's the whole premise. You don't ever have harmony. It's like weird coalitions of people who don't agree on things, all blocking it. And the idea is the stalemate's almost the achieved feature, not the bug. Well, that's going to be terrible. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is because as far as I can tell, this era of Fnatic was always trying to do it by committee. You were using the logic of, well, Razork must have some idea what he wants to do in terms of his agency as a jungler because he's Razork. Humanoid, he's going to make some sort of a mid-round call based on if he's strong and he's got items. And then Upset knows what he needs to carry the game and carry the team fight. And then in amongst it, I will say, by the way, probably the one I think always gets overrated by fans is I think fans make the mistake of thinking Mickey X making on your screen genius macro plays is the same as being a shot caller. It isn't. I can tell you, in that sense, he's making the play, but he's not saying anything. He's not. There's not a big dialogue. He's not some core JJ figure. So the real problem, I think, with this squad, I agree. Even though on paper you could argue it actually might make it better to have one less voice, they also just don't have a unifying voice. Like, I genuinely feel like beyond grabs, is there anyone in that team even agrees on how to play League of Legends? I don't feel like it. I feel like they all have a different perspective, especially Razork, Mickey X and Upset. Like, I don't know. I feel like if you put a different combo of each two people in a room, you'd get a different perspective on how you should play the game. Like, it doesn't feel like they're all on the same page at all. As far as I can tell, their only unifying quality is they're all really good players. But, like, I'm sorry, again, this 10 years ago, that was enough. 10 years ago, having three really good players, that get you to the finals. Now, that is like you are just a playoff team. And if you go to Worlds, you will get torched, by the way. And that's the last thing I'll say. In a weird way, it's almost a blessing that this Fnatic squad hasn't gone to the international tournaments, because what it reminds me of, and this is what they've actually given up, sadly, with having to toss the lineup in the bin, is it reminds me of the really old TSM squads that had like the double of Bjergsen squads. They had to just accelerate the game. If they accelerate the game and they had more skilled players, yeah, of course they could win. They were in a team fight with an advantage. But if they actually had to like macro, by the way, forget the idea of using wave management and side laning and there was none of that shit. It was just like, get really strong, go to the Baron, now we fight and kill them. And the problem with that is that's like Babby's first fucking macro, isn't it? Like, you can do that domestically if you're better than the other players, but the second you go internationally, not only are the players better than you, their macro's way better too, and they actually understand what they're doing. So, no, I know what you mean. It's why, unfortunately, even though a lot of people got hyped because Poppy literally just wasn't shit, he just had like some good games and some alright games, just the fact he wasn't shit got people hyped. I'm far from being hyped about Fnatic yet. You've got to win me over on the idea that if somehow you took that third spot for Worlds, you'll actually do something. You won't just go and get your shit pushed in. Because sadly, right now, I know what you mean. Like for me, Fnatic still hasn't even started, mate. It's just like, I'm still waiting for this squad to go somewhere. I like the take.
How tragic is it? 3 months ago, we were like talking about how hype it would be to see Fnatic.
It would have been, yeah.
We were stomping everybody, like in
you think how they were playing in the regular season, mate? That team, who the fuck wouldn't love to see them play FlyQuest or mix it up with BLG or something? That'd be awesome, yeah.
But Peter, you've got to think how jarring this is for me, because my native game's Dota and we're about to go into TI season, right? The idea that like the fourth team in any given region literally can't do like macro when you remove like one player and everything just goes to shit, that's such a foreign concept in like Dota. Like, if you were to tell people that, everyone would look at you like, what? Like, so what are the other four players like doing? Did they not know how to play their role? Like, what happened to their champion pool? It's the fact that it's so bad. It's like, where did it go? Where did that team that I seen last season go?
Oh, you know what? I've just realised, guys. Oh, my God. It was there the whole time and we're all just fools. They're literally doing the Poppy faker play with Humanoid. They're going to bring him back in 3 weeks and then go, see, it was him all along with the genius shot calling. And then we'll all be like, oh, welcome back, Humanoid, king of the LEC. And then we all go to Worlds. Yeah, there you go. Why are we all saying, it's even Poppy himself. Listen, if you're going to get someone to play that role, bro, bring in the guy himself. It's him.
He's already got the Oscar. He's already got the Oscar.
Listen, he's got the script. He knows what his job is, mate. He knows exactly what his job is. I can't believe no one's actually made that joke so far. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, true. And we all really believe Humanoid's retired, but joke's on us. Just wait 3 weeks until the playoffs, and then we'll see. He'll be back.
Oh, God.
What a world. Okay, Peter, what is your ugly point? Sorry.
My ugly point is this is one of the most weeks that I've ever seen for LEC. My God.
Oh, yes.
So, like...
It's basically the other side of why I picked as my good that we have Carmen and Koi, right?
I mean, like, we were talking about... we've talked in the past about formats, right? And about how the LPL has, like, an Ascend for... I don't know... What's the bottom group called? Like,
Nevada.
Yeah. But they have a top group and they have a bottom group. Yeah. And I will tell you that we normally record the show on a Friday, and I set aside a 4-hour block on Thursday night where I rewatch all the games and I take my notes on all of the games and I go in, like, I do my prep for the show. Okay. It's a show and you're supposed to do it. Yeah. And I have never... like last night, I suffered. Oh my God, I suffered. Like, let me read the series, okay, that were this weekend. There was NAVI against KC. That was like the most tragic series that I've ever seen. There was TH against Fnatic, which we've already spoke about in detail. That you can give like a pass. Like, that was a 50% worth watching series. Then I watched BDS versus SK. Then KC versus GX, which was a good series, okay? Then SK versus Fnatic, and then GX stomping Vitality, okay? So 3 of the series that I watched, I set aside my Thursday night to watch. 2 of them involved SK, which were like completely a waste of time. 1 of them involved Navi, which were a waste of time, except for me feeling really sad for their jungler that his career is already over. I got to see Vitality run it down. I got to see Fnatic run it down, but somehow still managed to win the game because flashes weren't used at the right times. And then I got to see KC versus GX, which was literally the only good series that I saw in 4 hours of watching League of Legends. And I just hated, I hated LEC. I very rarely in my life hated LEC, like, it's a League of Legends, it's a game, I'm kind of neutral, right? But I actually, like, loathe the region, right? It was like, this is the point where I'm like thinking, maybe I should just watch LTA North VODs, like, what didn't like Surtee win a game like this weekend? I could not handle watching this, and I'm somebody that actually kind of likes League of Legends, and I've got a show that I'm doing tomorrow that I'm supposed to watch, right? This was worse than like the worst homework that I've ever had to do when I was at school as a kid. Like, I've never seen a more depressing set of games like than I had than this week. And why? It's because the format is complete trash. And yes, we get Koi versus KC next week. And yes, because of the way that the groups work, Group A is actually kind of hype, right? Because it had, Vitality shit the bed, but it has Vitality, GX, KC, and Koi. So we should get some good games in that group. But holy moly, I've seen enough. Like, 1 week is enough. I never want to see this again. I never want to watch another SK or Vitality game again. No, SK or Navi game again in my life. And like, I mean, they just need to change it. They just need to have like the +5 in the bottom 5, like just to give you something, right? Like, I'm sure that watching Navi versus SK might actually be entertaining, right? Because then you get to, like, take a drink every time somebody throws. It might be quite fun to watch, right?
Peter, we're not trying to kill anyone here. Come on. No.
This week was rough. Yeah.
Well, here's I've only got 2 quick points to make on this one, because I do feel I agree. First of all, LEC actually had like the perfect format last one, the super grips, where you made it matter because you actually got rid of the bottom 4. So you actually being dog shit actually had repercussions. Guess what? If you're not big enough, tall enough to get on the roller coaster, you don't just get to be on the roller coaster because this is a charity match. This is real business, real League of Legends, regular season matters. And here's the other thing, and this is something that me and Thorin often talk about, is like, where's the legacy of this regular season? There's not going to be an MVP. How could you give a fucking MVP award? You're not going to be able to have any awards for this. You can't. There's going to be no legacy of this regular season. You even said it, Peter. You remember that SK Gaming going 8-1 and them coming first. And I'm telling you right now, Irrelevant will have that. His mum will have that as a little trophy on his mantelpiece of when her son came fucking first in the regular season. Right? Guess what? Nobody's going to give a fucking shit about this regular season at all. You can't give any awards, you can't do anything. Narratively, it is a dud. What a waste of time. And you end up with weeks that are just duds. So, yeah.
By the way, I also, look, it's obvious, it goes without saying I care about the historical aspect in that particular sense, but I actually hate the idea that you can't, as you say, do a proper MVP in an all LEC, etc. Like, I can tell you, even as someone who watched all the leagues, it helps me when I can go back and look like, who was third team jungler in the LPL in 2018? That's useful because it jogs. You remember, oh, fuck yeah, he did have a good regular split, didn't he, on this team where, that's really useful, I agree. And also, I definitely agree. The main problem with this is why it's fun that Peter gets to see life from the other side. Because remember, I can tell you good old Peter Dun was one of the number one coaches doing that megaphone thing like, this format of LEC is killing. It's unfair. You get eliminated after 3 weeks. It's like, now you know why, mate, because there's certain teams you don't want to see after 3 weeks. Listen, sucks for those players, sucks for the coaching staff, ruins all their potential. They could improve and learn something. The problem is, not on my dime, homie. Like I say, make an NLB, tell them to fuck off to that, or do like the LPL and LCK, which, listen, what I love is just how savage Asians are in that sense. Like, just make a trash tier group and put them all in there, and then I won't watch it. Don't worry about that. I don't know what. All I know is D+ and NIP are suffering a bit. That's all I need, and they deserve to. Their time in hell was earned, and that's like a purgatory. They have to work their way out of to take a beating in the playoffs. But then I just watch the good group. Like, I just watch the SN group. I always tell people, who gives a fuck about the other one? That's straight fire. Every week at the SN group's like, oh, more great games. Awesome. This is excellent. Then, as you say, I look at LEC and I'm like, fucking hell, when's the playoffs start? Luckily, the playoffs don't start in like 3 weeks or something mental also, so it'll all work out in the end. No, I agree. It's actually terrible. And especially because add in that the format has its own problems, but then SK and Navi have like entered the fucking off-season and made stupid projects that don't even have any future. So you don't even get, like you say, this is the other thing, Peter. We all understand as British people the idea that you can at least have a fun, like, relegation battle. You can have that of like, oh, well, they haven't even given us that because they've given us these teams that almost certainly are just going to lose. And the joke is, this is also why you don't put SK twice in the first week. They're basically already out. You pretty much already eliminated them after 1 week of play. Like, that's ridiculous. What are we doing?
I thought
good. No, that was good from the LEC commissioner. Get it out the way.
Okay.
But anyway, I ain't leaving dog shit in my back garden. That stuff's getting picked up and putting over the fence, man. I'm not leaving that to fester.
People say that they don't want to see Navi versus SK, but trust me, like you people want to see Navi. Like, you'll see more comments in like a Navi versus SK game than you'll see like in a Vitality versus Navi thing, especially if it goes, unless Navi win, right? But yeah, like for me, it's the tragedy is we actually have like 4/3.5, depending on what you want to say with Fnatic, really good teams, and GX that actually look good the split. That would have been our Ascend group, right? Yes. That would have been our top 5 group. We could have had, I could have spent last night watching, GX, well, because it would have just been KC, Fnatic, and GX, because the Koi and G2 would have been on break. I could have seen KC versus GX, I could have seen KC versus Fnatic, I could have seen GX versus Fnatic, been super, super happy, and then I could have gone and seen Heretics versus Vitality and SK versus Navi, which I would have enjoyed because I like Brazilian League of Legends. But I would have enjoyed that. I don't care if you wouldn't have enjoyed it, but I would have definitely enjoyed it more than watching whatever I saw, Navi against KC, that, which was...
Sure.
I mean, it was fun to watch Kalis run all over them, but like that's about it.
Like, I have picked as my ugly one that's like not as much of a topical point, even though it is based on something that happened recently. It's more like an example to give someone their flowers and sort of see them on the way out. If you didn't see, there was like, I saw an interview called some quotes from Euphoria that just had Jankos on it. And in that episode, he revealed that they did offer him the spot in Navi. It's just he didn't want to play it. I mean, for the reasons Peter just said earlier. And then secondly, asked about next year, he basically said next year he'll probably just focus on content. Right? Spoiler, guys, if you're tracking Jankos' career, that's essentially a soft retirement. Like, if you could play now, but you don't want to, and then you're already messaging essentially before even, by the way, the main period where people are going to start to look and consider players, like, don't bother for next year, I'm just going to make YouTube videos. You're essentially just saying you're retired at that point in time. And by the way, also, when he does turn up and play in Nord, he isn't Jankos, mate. Like, that's like, I can tell he's just phoning it in, or he's just whatever it is his career at this point in time. I don't even know why he does it personally. But the reason I put this as my ugly is, one, I do think it's ugly because, look, I understand motivation and where you're at in your headspace is a massive factor, but I'm not in Jankos' head. So from the outside, I still think a player like him could have tremendous value in the LEC. Look, maybe not for a contender if you don't think his form's very good, but someone like that is such a wealth of knowledge, a fantastic communicator, very level-headed, great personality to put in a squad. Seems, by the way, also like a person who's ideal to put around rookies and promising players who are on the way up. And then lastly, the reason I put this in ugly too is because if he is essentially soft retiring and he eventually will just be properly retired and never play as a pro player again, I always say this, You cannot replace players like that, because to make players that legendary, that experienced and that great takes an entire career again. Like, whoever you think shit hot now who just came in, Skewmon looks like he could be really good. There's a bunch of players are good, even in jungle position. Shio's fucking awesome now. They're still not peak Jankos. And you can't, it's funny, we can all identify this when we step outside of ourselves and look at other regions. When I tell you Maple retires, well, he just came back, by the way. If Maple retires or Sword Art retires, we all know that's a loss, and that it doesn't matter if 4-4 is good. He's not Maple. He's not the same player. But somehow when it's our own region, we don't see it. We don't realise that, like, it doesn't matter how good the next rookie jungler is. He's not Jankos, though. Like, you are. If this really is the end of Jankos, you've lost something big there. And what a whack, a bit like Perks as well. What a whack last couple of years to go out on as well. Like, you never got back to the top again. It's so sad.
Can I just say, and this is actually something I've noticed, that one of the big problems in the West is, like, players who are, like, legendary or had, like, they were able to, like, compete at a level that, like, no one else really in the West could, and they had, like, a cerebral component to their game, not coaching. If you go look at Korea, Dandy's a coach. He's the coach of HLE. Kakao's a coach. He's the review coach for BLG. Bengi's a coach. He's the
pretty much all the jungle supports are, mate. Yeah.
Yes, they're literally all of them are now coaching staff on the LCK squads, right?
Yep.
Do you think it's no fucking, like, mastery that the people who, like, designed the previous generation of the game can just come in and be like to the new rookies and, like, oh, by the way, do this, or tell Peanut something, or, like, did you see this VOD reviews? You know what I mean? Because they themselves were players. This is another naturalized advantage. Like, I'm not telling Jankos what to do with his life, but if he's going into content as, like, we've lost a competitor, because I think Jankos could be a fucking great coach.
Bro, even
like,
Claylove just became a coach. Yeah, everyone's a coach now. No, but every great player is a coach from those positions. Pretty true, yeah.
So,
I mean, I think the thing with Jankos is obviously he's a really, really good content creator. I mean, like, you know, if it was something like Wonder, then sure, I think that's a loss. I don't think we're going to lose Jankos. I think he'll still do analytical content. But yeah, I mean, firstly, for the Navi thing, you'd have to be crazy to join this Navi squad. And like I said, I don't think even Tiger would have joined this Navi squad if he knew he was only there for one split, right? Like, that's a good way to, like, I mean, I think you should always take your opportunity, but there's, like, Navi is not an opportunity, right? Navi and SK are not opportunities. It's just not even a chance, right? So the thing is, the thing that I'm sad about is, how good would Jankos be if he was on, like, BDS? This split, right? Like, this split, Jankos on BDS would have been a really, really good fit for BDS. I would have said Giant X, but ISMA had a really, really good first week, so fine. But there are teams that, you know, you put them on BDS, you put them on Giant X, and these are teams which are immediately competing for the top 4. What I would say about Jankos is, last year wasn't the best. There were a lot of mitigating circumstances last year, right? A lot, which I don't want to dig up the old past, but, you know, it's not on him that he didn't look as good as he did last year compared to previous years. But the year before, like in 2023, he was one of the best junglers in the entire league. Like, people forget, but Heretics, without Jankos, maybe wouldn't have done so well. And I say that as Heretics coach. Like, he was 1v9ing, like, a very, very, very large number of games. And, you know, like, I mean, it makes me sad. I hope that he's not going to retire. I hope, you know, some people do a consultancy role in addition to their content creation. Like, I know Dom has said he does this. I know LS does it with FlyQuest. So maybe that's the path, because you know, the amount you get for content creation is much, much more than anything you can possibly earn as a coach. So I think that maybe in the East their coaches get paid a bit more. So I think that's a benefit. But
this is such a blow, by the way, because this is our canyon, you know what I mean? This is our fucking Karsa, our Tian, this is our, like, regional marquee player who, like, outside of, like, Diamond Procs, if you're, like, an older head, like, this is the talismanic player of, like, EU, like, jungling, and he, like, literally took the region to zenith and heights that, like, no one thought EU was ever going to be able to contest it. And the, like, kind of the whimper, like, it's sad that he's kind of went out without a roar, by the way, like a last dance, you know what I mean, of his own fruition. And I actually do think, Thorin, you kind of actually fucking depressed me here, because I didn't realise kind of narratively how, like, lacking it is. It's kind of tragic, to be honest. I hadn't really thought about it like that.
I mean, to put it in context, there are maybe 5 players in the West that could go to a Korean team and be automatically respected. Like, I mean, they'll respect you because of hierarchy, right? But if Jankos went to coach in Korea or China, immediately everyone listens, right? Like, even if you're Canyon, you're still listening. Maybe you don't agree with everything Jankos has to tell you, right? But you pay attention to his opinion, right? And there are, and I mean, I still hold faith that there's a chance, because I know that he was having serious tryouts. I think it was with KC or GX. It was one of those two teams at the start of the year.
Okay.
At the start of the year, but for whatever reason,
that would have been spicy. He was on KC though. Fucking hell. Okay.
Yeah. But maybe it was GX, right? But I remember it was one of those two teams. But maybe, and going into next year, I think he can still provide something. But yeah, like, I haven't seen that episode. I would have to go back and have a look at it. But it was, I mean, it's a big loss. And like, look, when there is a Hall of Fame and they get around to putting an actual reasonable number of people in the Hall of Fame instead of putting people just to sell skins, Jankos, like, he would be the second or the third player into the Hall of Fame, right? From EU, right? So there's, like, it's a massive loss, and I hope that he continues on the content creation path.